We have a right triangle that has legs lengths of 5 and 12. What is the approximate sum of the lengths of all three altitudes? Well, 5 is one of the altitudes. Remember, an altitude just has to be perpendicular to a side and go to a vertex. So 5 is an altitude. 12 is also an altitude. It's perpendicular to a side and it goes through a vertex. So we're going to add 5, 12, and some other value. So we need to find this other altitude. If we let A be the altitude, then that's what we're looking for. Once we find that third altitude, we'll add it to the 5 and the 12 and we'll have our sum. We've got a right triangle. The big triangle is a right triangle where we know the two legs. If you remember your Pythagorean triples, you'll know that this is 13. If not, go to your Pythagorean theorem and solve it, and you should get 13 for the hypotenuse of the big triangle. If you think back to geometric mean, the legs of a triangle, that 5 is the geometric mean. It's the positive square root of the product of the segment of the hypotenuse closest to it, or adjacent to it, and the full hypotenuse. So we could write it like that. Now if we're trying to solve this for x, we would square both sides. So we'll raise both sides to the second power, so we'll get 5 squared, that's 25, equals square root and squared cancel each other out, so we end up with x times 13, or 13x. If we divide both sides by 13, we get x equal to 25 over 13. The reason I wanted to do that was because now I've got a right triangle here, and I know 2 of the 3 sides, so I can use the Pythagorean theorem. So I can write 5 squared, the hypotenuse squared, equals x squared, which is 25 over 13 squared, plus a squared. Of course, 5 squared is 25. If we square this fraction, we'll get 625 over 13 squared, which is 169, plus a squared. At some point we probably want a approximate value for this, so if we do 625, or 629, yeah, it should be 625. Divided by 169. We get about 3.7, and if we subtract 3.7 from each side, so we'll take that value, subtract it from 25, and we're going to keep it in our calculator so that we don't have to round until our final answer. But it's approximately 21.3 equal to a squared, and then we'll square root both sides. We get approximately 4.6. So we've got to add that to the other two altitudes. So we'll get 5 plus 12, 17 plus 4.6 gives us 21.6. So that's choice C.